from Space Penguin Inc.
Hello and welcome to the Weekly Scroll Podcast. My name is Ryan.
You know what? I'm Hunter for once.
Yep.
Breaking the streak.
Yeah, just for you, buddy.
Yep. And I think I kind of was going in as you were talking, so I'm not sure everyone heard who we have with us once again.
Oh, you were doing the thing. I thought you said.
Well, I was like going in, and you started talking, and I was like, "Oh no, transition."
Oh, you said introduce yourself, and
I meant like as like a direction like when we get to normal, but you were just like, "Cool, I got
already."
Look, this is perfect return to not cat chats here on the Weekly Scroll Podcast. So for those that are unaware, that is Jert of Space Penguin Inc. We are back. Last month we had like scheduling and then stuff and then things and then like a million cons and stuff. So we broke our streak of Space Penguin Inc. not cat chats, but we are back. We have returned with with twice the stuff to talk about this time and a couple of cons as well.
Cats.
But yeah, twice the not cats. But how are you, Jert?
Doing well today. It is probably 95 degrees with a heat index of 10 something outside, and just cooking away down here.
That's what's my high today here where I'm at, where it's been. Oh, I only have a high of 91 today. We have a cool snap, so that's
74, baby. If I'm in the Pacific
Fuck you.
Northwest, it's fall, so it's raining. Maybe not right now, but eventually.
I thought we had fall. It was cool for a couple of days, and then I was like, wait, why is it like 105 again? I don't understand what's happening.
See, here in Florida, we have two seasons. We have rainy season or not rainy season. And rainy season is on right now. It's actually been a little dry the last week or so. I'm sure our listeners really are flabbergasted by this weather talk. Just realized we're doing a show.
Anyone listening, especially for the not cat chats, either has ADHD or cannot follow. So thank you for staying with us if you're capable. But no, in the dry, non-ocean parts of California, you get fucking hot. You get super windy cold, or you get on fire.
Do you ever get those? Do you ever get those earthquakes? I saw there was an earthquake yesterday.
Here's the thing: is I've lived in California for I don't even know, like 7 years, something like that, 8 maybe. And apparently there's been a bunch of earthquakes, and I've yet to feel a single. I think maybe I felt one, like wiggle, and was like, I wasn't sure if that was or not. But people like, did you feel the earthquake today? I was like, I guess not. Like, I don't know. So I guess there's been some, but my books haven't fallen off the shelves yet. So
Gotcha.
I just put them all on the floor. They didn't fall on the floor.
Is that a Weekly Scroll branded pint glass?
I literally drink from this glass every episode we've ever done for like 100
really?
episodes.
I think you normally have it in your hand, so I can't see the logo. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah, I have two downstairs in my cabinet.
I'll have to send you one.
Yeah, I would love one, and I would also love to know where you get those made.
Probably
this is from Amazon, and this is a vinyl cutout from Cricket that's slapped on a glass.
Oh, neat! That's a pretty cool way to do it.
Like a cricket. Yeah, crickets are dope.
They're so cool.
Yeah, we don't have one here, but Debbie is very crafty, as you know, and hand makes a lot of that stuff. So, you got it with you.
I've got
it.
For that.
I don't think. Did I send you a picture of all this stuff, Hunter? All right, quick show and tell for everybody. I'll just go through some of the
from Space Penguin this week. They're over in my stack of to be read, and
as you can tell from my water bottle. For those listening, I'm holding in my water bottle that's covered.
I'm gonna kill the wizard sticker. Damn it!
Did I not put one in that package for you?
I don't know that you did.
I got one.
Okay.
I'll
get you
one.
a Kill the Wizard. It's part of the pre-promo, the pre-marketing for the latest, greatest board game from Space Penguin Inc. Kill the Wizard, for he took your dime bag of 𝗏𝗏 and smoked it. That's the full title. I don't know if we're going to actually put the full title on the game. But yeah,
it'll be in our hearts,
That's right. That's right.
But
and there are actually will be 𝗏𝗏 bags and stuff like that inside the game. It's one of the item cards. Yeah, it's very much a board game, in the vein of all of the good 1970s vibe where DCC comes from and whatnot, you know, and all that shit that I grew up listening to from my uncles, like learning to read, you know. I had read the majority of what is in the parlance known as Appendix N before I actually knew that there was a list anywhere, because I had never seen a list. I didn't see a list until like I started getting back into RPGs in the early 2010s. So like I didn't know, and then I was just like, oh yeah, no, read that. I think that's part of the reason why I haven't finished reading most of the rest of Appendix N, is because all the shit that I read was really good. Like all the Moorcock stuff, probably my favorite author, I think. Like, but definitely just all of that stuff is very foundational. But then like I'll do things like I'll grab all of the Barsoom novels from Burroughs. You know, I've got this Mars trilogy in there, and I've read one of them, but it's been decades since I read one. And so I'm just like, I'm going to sit down and read all of them, you know, and I don't get to it. For those listening at home, Ryan has left, and as has Hunter. It's just me now. Oh, you're back.
So for those that don't know, a while ago, we had some fellows on the show that are doing the Kickstarter for the Black God's Kiss, like tabletop role-playing game, and for 𝗖𝗵𝘁. And Peter 𝗡𝗡𝗂 was one of those people, and he had put out a book called Appendix N, which is not just all of Appendix N, but is a couple extra parts too that are also part of that. And they just released an updated new version of it, and this is the limited 500 copy special edition hardback with the cover or whatever. But the regular edition of this is available on Amazon. I highly recommend it. This is not an ad. The Appendix N book is absolutely fantastic, and it's even bigger and better now. Once again, edited by Peter 𝗡𝗡𝗂. I'll put it all together. It's a really fantastic book, and it has all those books that you're talking about in it. Appendix N.
True story about that book. I actually purchased a soft cover copy of that, and immediately, as soon as it was here, I immediately loaned it out to one of my regular players, Dave. And I don't know if he's got it back to me or not. I don't see it over on the shelf over where it should be, so I have a feeling that he probably still has it. But did they just add a bunch of more public domain stories to it, or did they get the rights to add more of modern authors to it?
I have to. So you're talking about the original one that had like this cover, right?
Yeah. Kind of orangish with a dark spire. Yeah.
So this new edition comes with, I don't know everything that they added, but they definitely added a number of things. And there's a whole introduction that talks about a little bit more. I only recently just got this in the mail, put it on the stack of other stuff, and haven't got a chance to dig through this version yet to see what's changed, but it's definitely more. So I don't know if they just expanded or got more rights or what, or if it's been like you said, a bunch of years and more have fallen into the public domain, because we're at that 75-year-ish kind of thing. And it's not Disney, so they're not going to fight it forever.
Right. Yeah, no, always interested in a good collection. And like I said, I do have a copy of that I borrowed. And I mean, I guess that's when you know a book is good, or when you know what is inside a book is good. If you buy it for yourself and you just immediately like, here, you got to read this before I do. Because in my case, I've read probably, I couldn't, without having the table of contents in front of me, I couldn't tell you exactly how much I've read of it, but I've read a fair amount of it. So, yeah. How are we talking about Appendix N?
No, so my problem is I'm a psychopath, right? So like my books are, even after I've read them, are all perfect. So I don't loan them out. If I really want to loan someone a book, I'll just buy a second one and then loan out that one. So I had bought Appendix N. Oh yeah. Go ahead. I bought Appendix N. Oh yeah, I bought Appendix N, and then I went to go buy another copy so I could loan it out, and it had sold out and was like taken away because they had started working on the second one. So I was like, well, I guess you can't borrow it because I only have one and I can't find another one. So what am I going to hate?
I buy copies of books and then reread it and then give that copy out, and then 3 to 5 years later, I'm like, I wonder if. And I message that person, and they'll be like, nope, read it, pass it on to somebody else because it was that good. And I'm like, damn it. And then I did, there's some books like George Bataille's The Story of the Eye. I think I've purchased close to 15 copies of that book, and it's a slim little softcover, book. But I think I've bought that 15 times. I think I currently actually have a copy. And my friend Rusty mentioned the other day that they were going to do a reread of it, and I was just like, damn it, it's time for a reread. Yes, you're right. So, and then I'll reread it and I'll hand it off to somebody. So,
well, I mean, listen, that's how normal human beings function, and I wish I worked that way.
yeah.
But
the thing that you were going to hate was I just handed Debbie like my first print copy of Liminal Horror Investigators, of Liminal Horror, like the older ones from the original run, and she's in the swimming pool, and there's a chance that it might get wet in the swimming pool.
I have like 4 of those, so I'm fine with that. Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
But
doesn't bother Ryan because he's like, no, there's like 8 backups of everything.
Have I shown you my copy of DCC lately? I always love showing Ryan this. I've showed him too, but look at that. Look at those stickers. Look at that spine covered in duct tape. And look at this. Check this out. Easy access. The spine actually just comes off. So I have a soft cover, hardcover.
That's beautiful. If I had done that to my own book, I would be fine with that. If someone else did that to my book, no one would find them again. So, it's I think I have like 3 copies of that from different Kickstarters, and like 2 of them are still in the plastic. Because I was like, why even take it out of the plastic if I'm not going to open it yet?
So do you like DCC? Normal. You like DCC?
I do. We've just never talked about it on the show, mostly to annoy one specific person. But I have more than an entire shelf of DCC. Yeah. But what the fuck are we doing? What are we doing today? What are we talking about?
We were going to segue into talking about Cobra Express because it's for DCC RPG, and it's one of the new releases that came out last month that we had kind of previewed in the previous episode, but we really didn't get a chance to talk too much about it. It's a 24 pages. It also has these extra sheets of things. I think I sent you a copy too, Hunter. I'm pretty sure you should have a copy. Yeah. And it's got these extra cardboard sheets inside it. For those listening at home, I'm holding up cardboard sheets that have the train cars that make up the titular Cobra Express. And it is our attempt at filling a niche in the niche of the market of getting 5th edition D&D players over into playing DCC and helping get judges who are new to DCC but have DM'd Dungeons and Dragons before. It's helping them break from that mold a little bit and go over into DCC. But one of the cool things we did was Jacori Holder, who's the artist, did these really, really, really great train car maps, and they come 2 on a thing. Or 2 on a sheet. You can cut them out, so then you can just lay the train out all in a row. And then it also comes with sheets of cut out standees. So you've got all kinds of people for NPCs and PCs and monsters. And one of the coolest things is there's an actual mount. I'm holding it up to the camera. There's a lizard mount that actually has an indentation, so you can actually put a little person inside there to show that they're riding on the little mount. And these are all scaled to size to match up with the 5-foot squares that are pretty common in tactical versions of Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that we tend to use less in DCC, where we play a little more theater of the mind and such like that. But the book itself has all of the stats written for 5e, but then with all of the DCC stats in the outer column next to that, so you can kind of see and compare. And the author, Sam Kemp, originally wrote it in 5e, and then I did the DCC stats because I'm super familiar with it. So it's kind of my interpretation of what Sam interpreted from the 5e, which is kind of neat, just kind of a little metamorphosis of the entire book all the way through the project. And it's cool because you can run it as a funnel, and you can run it as a level 1 and 1 to 2 adventure for D&D, and it's not going to throw any. I mean, you could probably run it for level 1 to 3, and probably as a 0 level funnel up to like level 2 for DCC, because some of those monsters, like some of the kobolds in D&D, they have pack tactics where they gain bonuses to AC and attack when there's a bunch of them next to each other. And so I kind of got to create that for DCC, which really made me happy because I don't mind running D&D. I prefer OD&D if I do run, or BX, but I really love DCC. Like it's the system that I will probably be out of that book that I showed you that's all gnarled up. Like I'm probably, if I do end up getting like cremated or something, I'm probably going to have it put in the casket with me.
Big with
So,
it, yeah.
Your
So I'm
followers
actually
pyramid, and you have to get buried with all of your collection, like you're like one of the pharaohs of old, you know?
I mean, that would be pretty cool too. I would also just like to not die. I would like to live forever. Can we do that instead?
Definitely.
yeah. Hey, listen,
Cool.
I'm telling you now that if you bury yourself with all your TTRPGs, I will become a grave robber.
Yeah, that's great.
And I will find you. So I'm showing two things real quick. So I'm showing on the screen next to me Cobra, the PDF for Cobra Express, and also the bonuses come as the PDF extras too when you get it, so they can actually see the standees. One thing I love about this, and I just noticed in PDF because I read it in physical because I have a physical copy, so it's hyperlinked. Fantastic, love that. You know we love it. Every page, the page number at the bottom hyperlinks back to the table of contents. Jert, you beautiful bastard.
I didn't do that. That's all Christian Kessler.
Christian Kessler, you beautiful bastard. That's such a great touch to every PDF. A lot of people out there are like, PDFs suck. I'm like, well, people need to put in the correct tool so you can navigate it better, and it's way better than the book, to be completely honest, at least for navigability. And that's fantastic. Every single page, you can click the page number and it takes you back to the table of contents where you can click on other parts. So not only is it a great adventure, it is a well-structured hyperlink. Good job, Space Penguin and Christian Kessler.
Sweet.
But
I'm going to make a note real quick to tell CK to not hyperlink the next one just to piss you off. I'm just kidding.
You know,
I'm just kidding.
But I love how the stat blocks are lined up, though, as you said, like, and how the DCC stat block is like 2/3 as big as the 5e stat block next to it. Well, actually like half as big because it's narrower too. It
really does take up less real estate, like, and just one of those things, like it can act, and you know, having them next to each other like that, it allows us to communicate the information a lot quicker, you know, so maybe judges will start to think. I personally think in a lot of systems all the time, like every day, because that's the work that I do with editing and stuff like that. Like right now I'm getting ready to shift back into mothership mode for a while. So I'm going to be in percentile. I'm going to be in mid to low percentile for a while. And then I'm going to have to do a DCC thing. Then I have to grind my brain out of that. But it's really nice when you can actually see them on the page next to each other. And we plan to do that with some other adventures that we have coming up. We're going to do a crowdfund in November. We're going to do two. We're going to do one for Mothership Month. It's going to be a deck of cards called Survivors of the Core Wars that Christian Kessler is actually writing and doing all the design work on, and Bosun is doing all the art for. It's going to be a card deck of 50 NPCs that you can essentially use for characters if you need them as a quick stand-in or as NPCs, and they all revolve around this intricate story that CK's worked on. And then the other one we're going to do is called The Ghost of 𝗲𝗲𝗵𝗁, and that one is instanced for for OSE. But one of the stretch goals is going to be, I'm going to write the DCC equivalent for it and possibly talk to getting someone else to do like a Cairn version of it, you know, just to kind of go back a little bit to the other lines that we have, just to see if it'll work. And I think it'll work. So we're going to put those as stretch goals, because I would personally, while I love 𝗲𝗲𝗵𝗁 and it's for OSE, which to me means BX, because that's the game that I grew up on playing, and it's close enough, even in its current iteration as OSE to BX, that I can run it in a D&D. I still would love to have it as a DCC, because it would that book, when you see it, it's fully illustrated. It's going to be a really crazy thing that when you actually see the whole thing. But it's written by 𝗏𝗲𝗵𝗁. He's a Finnish guy. Do you know Elder Oak? You
Yes.
probably have Elder Oak on your shelf. Yeah, it's
I
Thomas's.
I do.
Yeah. It's Thomas's follow-up to that, but it's not necessarily in the same world, but it's going to be a nice 90 page hardcover with all this really great art that he's done and set the scene for on every page. It's going to be really neat. It's going to be a challenge for me, a new challenge for me printing wise, because it'll be the first time that we've done printed in sheets. So we're going to see how that goes, because I have thus far, as much as part of the ethos of the books that I've worked on is try not to waste any space. There's also the publisher side of me that is lazy and likes to just be like, nope, no printed in sheets on this one. Just work it all into the book block. Unfortunately for this one, the way Thomas has it, well, fortunately for this one, the way Thomas has it built, it's going to have printed in sheets, which will then mean that the specific printer that we're going to, that we were working with, if they pull that one off, then I know exactly how to communicate to them in the future exactly what I want. So that's one of the biggest things about, this is officially, we're in our second year, we're like 1 year and a quarter, and I am finding out a lot about the business and all of the things that go behind it. And one of the biggest things is, man, I am lazy sometimes when it comes to some things. But I found if I push myself and challenge myself, like that's why doing Cairn has been so exciting, because as much as it's been a big ball of stress and it's taken a lot out of me, it's still really awesome to be like, yeah, we did a box set for our first big Kickstarter, and that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
I've always been in love with the concept. Does that mean we'll do more box sets in the future? I don't necessarily know, because I'm going to take stock of the whole process afterwards. And I keep pretty good tabs on hours and time and, physical stress levels and mental stress levels when it comes to doing this kind of work. And it might not be that I want to put myself through the publishing, let alone, like, I'm not even working on the creative end so much with that. That's 𝗖𝗄𝗧 and his entire team doing all of that, and Adam and Derek and everybody. So yeah, we'll see, but definitely we're going to be doing some smaller crowd funds for some books and some other stuff. Liminal Horror next spring, that's going to be pretty fun. I'm excited to get back into working on the mothership, and working on the next big book, which hasn't really been announced yet. So that's cool. That's about to hit my editing plate sometime in the next couple weeks.
Nice.
So
Nice.
yeah, it's getting back to 2021, 22 levels of productivity fairly soon. So we'll see. So.
I mean, 1 year and a quarter in, I feel like you've been hitting. Do you feel like you've hit a lot of the touchstones you expected at the year mark?
Yeah, I honestly purposefully didn't really give myself a set list and say, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. It was more a continuation of the work that I had previously done, but with a different level of control and learning when to give more than take. Like, definitely in this process, definitely working with so many people that are my friends and have done so many great things. Like, I've definitely strengthened a lot of those situations by just being more there, which is hard to do. And then also just, it's a thing Sean McCoy and I talk about a lot. Like, you can't, in this business, you can, but in this business, if you want to keep doing it the way that we're doing it here and that Sean does it at TKG, is you have to get to about 98%, and then accept that you're never going to get that 2% that's perfect. And I mean, I've been playing that 10% rule for years with editing and stuff like that. Like, because if you look at, like, most, I think it's, last I checked, was like a 91% correct rate was pretty good for an editor. And if you total up like the number of oops and typos and shit like that appear in a book that I've worked on, versus the number of words in there, you're talking about like 96, 97, 98%. Like we generally try to keep shit pretty low. And that's, you know, that's with or without aftermarket, you know, other proofreaders and stuff like that. If I'm like the last line of defense on these and we're still hitting that pretty, to me, we're doing a pretty good job, you know, editing, team edits, edit core, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything looks great to me. I mean, you know, but
Fancy.
quick question for you. This is going back to something you said a while ago, something that's still on the screen here. So you, the author of Cobra Express, this was Sean Kemp.
Forrest Kemp III.
Yeah. Not the Seattle Supersonic.
No, Sam Kemp.
Sam Kemp, not Sean Kemp.
Forrest Kemp III, yes.
Yeah. The stat blocks, the adventure was written in 5e. You switched it to DCC, and obviously you edit a fuckload of games, and you said you have like a lot of systems in your head at the same time. Specifically though, 5e to DCC, because like a lot of stuff people are putting out like 5e OSE. Right? Because I mean, because at the end of the day, 5e sells, right? But it'd be great if people played a different game. We'll say different. But when you're talking about doing a project that's like OSE to DCC, that sounds great to me. Add Karen in, that sounds fantastic to me. But for this specific adventure, we talked about, like, for example, Red Scale is the one that's up on the screen here. How much smaller or more kind of streamlined the DCC stat block is versus 5e. What, like, why? Like, when you're actually doing it, what parts do you feel like you're chopping off? What parts do you feel are important? Are you trying to get everything that's in the stat block, or create something where that would fit in DCC the best?
Let me pull that up real quick so that I can see that's on the same page. Cobra Express. Here we go.
Page 18.
Page 1-8. So extraneous stuff that isn't really necessary. The size and scale of the creature, like these things that are just sort of understood or implied in the writing where the creatures are entered into the text. So in a DCC adventure, it's going to say a small humanoid such and such, such and such, such and such. That's this, you know. Or in some, you'll have the big stat block, and then you'll have, like when I work with Orbital Intelligence on Dungeon Grand Prix and Stratos Fiend and stuff like that, where it is you get the mechanical stat block, and then you get like a paragraph underneath that kind of describes it. Like that, D&D actually kind of wins on that with their single line small humanoid kobold lawful evil, because that kind of is explained. I think what D&D does is where it loses, where it actually just completely loses all of that right away, are in all of these abilities that it has. Like, you don't really need to know if you're playing a game, you kind of have an idea of what Pack Tactics does, right? So I could shorten that to just Ren gains a +4 bonus to 8 attacks and AC when within 5 feet of a living ally, right? You don't need the entire sentence. The kobold has advantage on an attack roll against a creature if at least one of the kobold allies is. It's a very long sentence, so that was just kind of edited down into when within 5 feet of an ally. So they give you a little bit more of what the character does, or the monster or whatever does in D&D in the actual ability section, where you can just make that simpler mechanically and then put all that stuff in a fluff paragraph after, which to me is more enjoyable to read.
It's easier to parse out too. Like, you really only need the fluff when you're first going over it, and then like effectively at the table, like I really only need to access the stat block and as quickly as possible, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then also oh, go ahead.
No, just specifically with that Pack Tactics game, it's really interesting because I played a fuckload of 5e before I learned better. But the way that it's written, like, I read it trying to figure out what it felt like for so long, and it's, you know, with Adventurers League and stuff like that, where everything has to be exactly the same, so you can go from Texas to California and still play like the same shit or whatever. and how like the freaking creators used to be on Twitter doing like daily, like, this is what this rule really means. No, you can't use shield bash before you do this or that. Like it feels like they write all of their stuff in a way where it excludes all other options except for what they're saying, versus ways where you can write something where like if someone can take that and do other stuff, that's totally fine. So it becomes like, how can we say this thing so that there is no misinterpretation and people only do it exactly the way we want? And that ends up with this, like, exactly this writing. The kobold has advantage on the attack roll against a creature if at least it did It feels like this list of like, this is it. This is all you can do. Don't get creative. Don't whatever. Like, this is how it works and that's it. Versus, like you said, with the Ren gets +4 and it's just like, cool. Got it. You know?
Honestly, one of the first things I did when I was running 5e was I took the Horde of the Dragon Queen hot DQ. And I went through that and I pulled all of the monsters into a spreadsheet, and I did the same thing with the one that came after that, the Underdark one, because I was running Adventures League for the local game store. Also, I was secretly running DCC. Not so secretly. I was running DCC, but we'd still bannered it under AL. But I took all of that stuff and I put that into one spreadsheet that told me what pack tactics was, what sneak attack was, what multi-attack was, what short sword weapon damage, what hand crossbow, and all of that stuff, and just had that in here because you don't personally. You could cut it down to sunlight sensitivity, pack tack. You can just put the names of the things underneath the monster on a 5e thing, and if you just have at the front of your book a reference to what those things are, because then and a page reference to jump to it real quick, or a hyperlink, if you need to jump to that really quick to see exactly what it does. And I do understand that there are definitely hit dice or die size concerns with coming to that. Like, not everyone's going to get the same amount of damage on a turn, but you could have shown the underlying math as an example, or had a small table with that for something like sneak attack that scales up depending on the size of the creature and their weapon attack and stuff like that. But multi-attack, Ren makes 2 weapon attacks or 1 weapon attack, and her riding lizard's bite attack. I missed a period there. Damn it. Just missed a couple periods. I see it. Look at that, typos. We'll get into the second print, which, by the way, this one's actually going back to second printing soon, which is good. But nice. That is all shortened to attack : 2x short sword +4 melee 1d6. So,
yeah, I mean, that's me and Hunter talk about this a bunch, and I'll eventually write something about it. But it's a level of scaffolding that, like, I think that's one reason people really love 5e, is because, like, you kind of, in the nicest way I can say this, like, there's a lot of times where you don't have to think. Like, it's just, sure. It lays out exactly what you can do and how to do it, so you just do the thing, versus something that's much shorter where you have to read it so you can understand it, but you can also adapt it and stuff like that. So it seems like the DCC stat block has much less scaffolding, and it just cuts out all the extraneous explanation so that you can just read exactly what it does and then move on, which to me, I really, really enjoy that, but I can see why people, especially people who often start with 5e, might want a little bit more explanation, because maybe they're not sure how it works, but people that have been doing it for, how fucking long can know exactly what all those little things mean. So it's interesting, and this is one thing I really love about Cobra Express, because I remember when you first mentioned this to me and I was like, really, 5e? This is a great thing to do for 5e players, to be like, here is a game that you might enjoy differently. This is how it could easily be done in a different way. So the more things that come out that are like 5e and OSC, or like DCC and 5e, where people can be like, you know what, this thing looks cool over here, why don't we try DCC, guys? Like, that's a W,
Yeah.
Catch our upcoming 5e review here on the Weekly Scroll.
Right.
5.5 coming out. We can get a copyright strike.
Review the new the 2024 DMG or PHB or whatever it is.
Yeah, so. whatever. Anyway, so what do we got next on the docket here? What I just popped up.
We also last month we had Forbidden Seas. We've already talked about '𝗂𝗎
Did we?
on one
Did we actually go
episode.
through it? I thought we mentioned it, but I don't remember we talking about
and
it.
we actually talked about that and Forbidden Seas. Yeah.
All right. So then, boom, push those aside. So, are we here?
We are this month. We are A Night in the Museum and the reissue of The Last War. So we want to do Night in the Museum first.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Night in the Museum. What month is this? 9. Number 9 in the monthly Forbidden Psalm. For those out there who don't know what Forbidden Psalm is, it's a 28 millimeter miniatures agnostic skirmish war game that is really, really, really easy to play and really, really easy to get into. You bring your own miniatures. And one of our launch titles was called Dread Knights, which used the Forbidden Psalm chassis, but was for late 1800s, early 1900s werewolves, vampires, like it's that the Victorian era. Somebody in the comments will tell me that it wasn't the Victorian era. Maybe I'll be right. And this is the first expansion for Dread Knights, because we do expansions for all of the line of Forbidden Psalm. We do a lot for Forbidden Psalm. There's the Dread Knights. You got all 3 covers. I have one of those skulls on a maroon shirt, on a rust-colored shirt, and I dearly enjoy that shirt. It's really comfortable. So, yeah. So Dread Knights, Night in the Museum, put your players, yourself and the other player, into a museum. The curators have approached you to have you come do stuff. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 scenarios. There's some new rules for looting inside a museum, which is naughty and bad. You should not do that. And unless you're stealing to give back to the people that were stolen from originally.
I say, yeah, don't go to a British museum. It's all.
I think it's kind of what the book's meant to be about. And there's also some new cool curses in here as well. So that one is not standalone, but it can also be used with Forbidden Psalm. It can also be used with The Last War. That's the really cool thing about that chassis is over the last 4 years, Will and I have refined that thing, and with Roz on board in the past year and a half, like she has really just like kicked our asses in certain places and made us be like, what does this actually mean? What are you guys actually talking about? Because Will has his shorthand for how he writes it, and then I decipher that and come up with it and make it sound make it sound like the other ones. And then she's like, you guys have been doing this wrong this whole time. Like, no, she's the best, like seriously the best. Has vastly improved all of our offerings. So yeah, Night in the Museum, get it. And there'll be another Dread Knights expansion at some point next year, and probably one in 2026 and maybe a bigger one in 2027. So we haven't really thought much beyond most of 2025 and parts of 2026 as far as that line goes, because Will is shifting to doing an RPG. He's working on an RPG called Run Through the Dark. He's gonna kill me because he's probably watching it, and then he's like, wow, you don't even remember? And I'm like, there's so many projects, Will. I'm waiting until I actually see the thing. But guess what? He's writing it in Google Docs. So instead of editing it direct in layout, which is how we usually work together, I'm gonna get to beat that RPG text into a pulp in G-Docs before it hits layout, which is gonna be kind of neat.
There you go.
So
I write in Google Docs, but then I just recently, the quote, the bane of the TTRPG writing is don't write in layout. And then like, what's funny is on Twitter, people will be like, don't write in layout. And then like everyone else will be like, but I do. And it's like, well, I guess it's okay if this game comes out. It's
so the real trick of it is, if you're just writing a manuscript, ideally you write it in Google Docs, or you write it in, some sort of easily shareable, portable format like that, text editor, so that you can then work with an editor, and then the layout person can then take that text and put it into layout, and then you would do your proofreading pass in layout. If the same person is like in my case, because I've had a lot of practice at doing it that way, and I have all the technology, the tools, the apps, the programs that I can actually do that work in there, it actually sometimes makes things a lot easier. Now, it's ideally, I would never tell anyone to write in layout, but I know that some people do. And the real trick with that is, like, if you're an editor for hire and that's the work that you're doing, you can then adjust your pay rate. Like if you have to edit on a PDF or edit in some sort of layout program that you actually have the option to, that's a skill that you've gained. So you need to make more money for that. I upcharge clients if they're like, well, it's already in layout, and I'm like, okay, so we can do it one of two ways. You can go the less expensive route and I can charge you less, and I can just do a simple proofreading pass on the PDF, which I can just mark that up and turn that in. That's not nearly going to be as in depth, and then that's a way that you can get at my editing services and not pay out the ass. Or the other way is you're going to pay me more because I'm working in this other program, because I have to pay for that program. It's called Adobe, and that shit's not cheap. Right now it's approaching 60 USD per month. Like, it's a tool that I use, and it's a tool that I have to use for the work that I do, but I still have to pay for that tool. Like it's not like you buy a hammer and you use a hammer for 6 or 8 months and then it breaks and you buy another hammer or a screwdriver or something like that. We're in this dystopia of subscription all the time, and unfortunately it is the best it is at what it does. So
yeah, imagine if you just pay for software,
yeah, and then you just have it. It's crazy.
Yeah,
like when I grew up.
when I grew up, yeah.
No, when I grew up, we just cracked the shit. I mean, it is what it is. Did we want to talk about the other new release, the Last War?
Boom, yes. And there was an updated PDF that has the new Last War cover on it. Yeah. Beautiful fucking cover. I mean, absolutely stunning new cover.
So this is a reissue of the venerable title Forbidden Psalm, The Last War. We just gone with The Last War, and it still has the Forbidden Psalm logo on the front, so people picking it up in the shop know what it is. It includes the trench coats and trench cats expansion that was originally available only as a printed broadsheet with the Kickstarter.
Yeah, go get it, Ryan.
You got the broadsheet. Yeah.
I got everything. I have everything Forbidden Psalm's ever done in hardcover and softcover and every color and variant, plus bonus variants from you. So yeah. I have the broadsheet.
That was my first attempt at printing a broadsheet. It was actually quite fun. So
you did a good fucking job. It's a great looking.
Yeah. No, Will did a great job on layout. That was definitely a learning curve to go back and forth, and to get everything in there, and then to learn how to do it. So it's actually it's a neat and fun way. It's not super cost effective or anything, but there's a lot of real estate. So all of that is in that bifold that Ryan has right there has been remastered and formed to fit into the book here. So it all is down now to A5 size. So that was a fun time for Will and I to get that into actually working and being readable. The font size gets a little small, so sorry, get out your specs. Like future titles where we're doing reprints, like at some point we're going to do a reissue of Kill Sample Process, and we're going to add some more stuff to it. This has some more extra stuff added to it, completely re-edited by myself, and completely caught up to modern. It's funny to say in the terms of modern for a book that's like 4 years old, but caught up with the current iteration of Forbidden Psalm verbiage as far as usage and stuff like that, with terms and systems mechanics and things like that. Totally clean, totally nice and new. So you can actually get this one of two ways right now. You can actually buy this from us. We're just doing softcover since it already had a hardcover run. The hardcover run was for the Kickstarter, and that's kind of a thing that we're doing with a lot of our stuff for the Forbidden Psalm line with most of it, unless something changes, is we're doing the hardcover version for the crowdfund, and then we're doing the softcover version available after that and in perpetuity. Just hardcovers are a little bit more difficult to get sorted and printed. They're more expensive, and we enjoy being able to play these. And you know, there are enough of the hardcovers of End Times in existence out there that I think people can get hardcovers if they really want them. Same thing with Last War. I think there are still enough versions of the Last War out there in game shops and like other stores and stuff like that that still have them. And we just wanted to do something that was nice and concise and easy to read. And I really love the softcover format for the FP books because it makes it's easier for me to bend back, you know, and crease a copy at the table and then put something like that when I'm actually playing. Oh, look, there you go. You've got the hardcovers.
Yeah, mine's somewhere. I can't find it though.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't know how. I think maybe I like got this and then bought it again and then like bought it again because I have like 3 of these. I have like 3 of
Jesus. Should
so,
get those out.
I usually send shit to Hunter, but I don't know how I ended up with extras.
So you can get the book itself from us, or our friends at War Games Atlantic have done a real cool, neat thing. And at WGA, they have done a box of some of their sprues. Let me just pull up this here. Can I send it to you?
Yeah, shoot me the link and I can throw it up here.
I'm sending you the link on Discord.
That's right, y'all. We use Discord.
Right. So this is actually I think this is the main page right now. For extra money, you actually can get an entire box of British, French, German, and Russian troops from, you know, their World War I range. You get the Forbidden Psalm rule book and softcover, the very same rule book. You get some really awesome tokens. They actually managed to pull the tokens off. We didn't manage to pull the tokens off with the End Times, but WGA, imagine that, a war games company that normally does tokens, able to actually do tokens. You get tokens, and then you get extra sprues of weird, creepy, crawly, monstrous parts that go inside there. They're called the 2 weird War I conversion frames with rodents of unusual size, maggots, and a bunch of extra heads and tentacles. So you can like totally, like it says, Last War up your troops. I am eagerly awaiting my copy of this so that this will be one of the first box sets of miniatures that I have a bunch of Skavens and a bunch of rats from this Flames of War game that I had from a few years back that I built and kind of just sort of I never really fully painted them all, but these guys, I'm gonna build me some Last War creatures. I'm excited for that. So 2 ways to get Last War. You can pick it up from us at spacepenguin.inc, or you can pick it up from War Games Atlantic. So, and right now, I think they were on pre-order. Yeah, the shipping worldwide the week of September 30th. So, and I want to say they made quite a handy amount of these, but I'm so stoked to get one of these in a box with all of this cool stuff in it and then have our game inside there. Like, that's going to make me really happy. It's also going to be really weird to fit that box because it's not going to be probably a super sturdy box on my shelf, but I'm going to put it on there anyway, because usually boxes that minis come in tend to be a little bit thinner because they're lighter. Maybe it'll be thicker because it's got that book in it. I'm not quite sure how that'll go, but I'm stoked about the tokens, and they also have dice in there too. So yay.
That's sick.
We make the rules, they make the minis.
The minis look great too. Like looking at the what's it called? The thing that you cut the things out of?
Sprue.
Yeah. They look great.
Yeah. I actually have I play games with out here near me, and he he kit bashed as much minis together, and he's really down to run the last Warforge, me and him upcoming. So I just sent him this link right now. I'm like, bro, look at this.
Hell yeah, that's so good. So good.
That's awesome.
I'm so stoked for it.
Yeah, I've not got to play as much Forbidden Psalm as I would like.
Yeah.
But one of the things that, because we are ostensibly a TTRPG review show, and Forbidden Psalm is a mini skirmish game. But one of the things when we first had Will on the show was talking about how they wrote it in such a way where like you could just play it as a TTRPG, like the way the stats are done, the way the squad is done, the way the thing, and it is such a good way to mix and match that. And even if you want to do a system where like 5e, for example, at the end of the day, it's like the talking stuff and then the fighting stuff are two completely different fucking games. Like it's just a combat tactics game. And if you just do Forbidden Psalm, you can just do that. You can just be like, all right, we're doing this stuff, and then when it gets to combat, we just go into skirmish mode, and then you can just play the game like it is. And that's one of my favorite things about Forbidden Psalm and how well it's done, is it really bridges that space, and you can have something like this that exists where you have literally a box of like minis and tokens from like a war game place, and you could still be able to with the same people play it as more of a TTRPG and still have this and have it be that accessible. So it's great. It's good stuff.
Yeah,
it's good stuff, Jert.
No, and you can build terrain fairly easy out of boxes and junk and stuff that you have around your house. You know, cardboard is pretty easy to come by. Get yourself a can of cheap spray paint, some scissors or an X-Acto knife, and you are good to go. You know, maybe it's got the hiccups, maybe a hot glue gun. But yeah, it's that's all of my terrain is all handmade, and it's not very good, but that's okay because I made it and it didn't cost me anything, you know. Or, you know, you can 3D print terrain, you know, because there's a lot of cool folks that are doing a lot of cool stuff on our Discord for FP that are really, really, really leaning into like the Dread Knights, and they made like a cathedral and all this stuff. Like there's just so many good ways to come up with terrain.
Yeah, well, here's the thing: is like when we were kids, like you could see a whole kingdom in nothing, or like your sword was a stick and shit. Like that's imagination, imagination. So like, you know, having something that works, and you can just be like, this is that, and you can just be like, oh, cool, that's a thing. Like, is absolutely fine. Like it was never like. It's terrain. Like it's a thing. It's there. It is what you say it is, right? So
yeah,
you know, I'd much rather do that than pay $1 billion for Dwarven Forge. You know.
Yeah. Although Dwarven Forge is some pretty sweet stuff, having played on that a couple of times.
It is sweet. If you have the money for it, like that's great.
Yeah.
But you know, it's 2024. You know, we're all broke.
That's so true.
But yeah,
that's what's it for our new releases. We've got some other stuff coming out next month. I'll tell you. I just got a funny email. Yes. So that is it for this month's new releases. Next month we have teaser. What is next month? It's spooky month. Next month we have I gotta consult the chart. It's not because I'm a forgetful person, folks. It's because there's a lot going on behind the scenes. Next month we have for October. We have Rimbound Transmissions collection, all of Stella's pamphlets that she sent out every month.
Awesome.
all collected into I cannot for the life of me find the sample copy that I had printed. I don't know where it's at. It's somewhere in this office. But so you know how when you open a pamphlet, you fold it out, right? And you usually read side, 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 side. So what we did instead of that, right? So what we did instead of that was we went horizontal with it, so that when you open it up, you've got panel 1, panel 2, panel 3, panel 4, panel 5, panel 6, like this. So the book itself will be read horizontally, right?
That's awesome.
I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
it,
yeah.
man. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we're gonna see how that goes. And I've done an editing pass on all of those because I had done a couple of them for her, but hadn't done all of them. So we kind of got it cleaned up, got it matched up closer to Mothership 1E. She added in some extra trinkets and patches. Yeah, and then we also have number 10 in the Forbidden Psalm monthly series, which will be a Dead Festival 4. So we know it's the 4th year that Will and I have worked together, because one of the first things we did together was a Dead Festival, where for Halloween he did a bunch of Halloween horror movie themed scenarios, right? So this is the 4th one. We finally get around to my personal favorite all time of the slasher films, Friday the 13th. So yes, there is a crazed camper. And there's a couple of other scenarios in there and some neat stuff, some new let's see, did this one have, I think this one had it has got a bunch of new monsters in it too. So that one will be coming out, those two. And then further down the line, for November, we've got Trench 71, which is a Last War expansion that's coming out. That's going to add a bunch of more stuff to that. And then we'll have Seasons Beatings 2, which will be the new holiday themed one, for like the Xmas holiday themed one that'll be coming out in December. And also in December, we will have The Mall remastered, Liminal Horror, The Mall, with a new editing pass and a bunch of new pages added to it. And a new print run brought up to snuff to match the Investigators edition, which will then match the Liminal Horror Deluxe edition. So that's really exciting. So we're starting to get all of those, and we're getting all of the zines redone and reprinted up, and we're going to have those going. Speaking of Liminal Horror, the Parthenogenesis of Hungry Hollow is currently in a shipping container somewhere. I should be getting notification very soon that it has landed in California. And once it lands in California, it's going to get on a boat, or it's going to get in a truck. I guess it would be a FedEx truck. I mean, it could get on another boat, and then like it could boat across the country, which would be really long to do. I mean, I don't know. Can you do that? Maybe.
I don't think
you can.
It would be like,
does water go all the way across? Because I know when they went up the Mississippi, they hit the Northwest, and we're like, well, fuck, it doesn't go anywhere now.
Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't. It would be like in Fitzcarraldo.
You'll have to pick it up and carry it part of the way.
Yeah. Fitzcarraldo, where you put the logs in and you push it up the hill and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of a small preview of what we got for the end of the year. Liminal Horror Parthenogenesis is on a boat, and then next week we are sending Endless Horrors from Between the Stars to print. So that will be good, and we'll get that out there and start getting that Kickstarter fulfilled, get Parthenogenesis fulfilled. We've got a couple, like I mentioned earlier, those two crowdfunds on BackerKit that are, one's for a hardcover book and one's for a deck of cards. Like, I wish that there was the infrastructure in this country to make it affordable to do smaller print runs in a bit, but we know where we're at. So it takes a little bit longer to get these things done. So hence the wanting to order more when you order them. So we do these little crowdfunds. So I think that's the biggest thing that's changed in my year plus of doing this now. It's like I've come to an uneasy truce with crowdfunds. I still am not a fan of it, but then again, I'm also like a fan of UBI that we'll never see. So
I'm personally very excited for Rimbound Transmissions. In physical, I only have 1 through 6. Is there more that exists beyond 1 through 6 in physical? Because I got that with the I keep holding it up, but people can't read it when I just hold it up. But it came with like the thing that says Rimbound Transmissions 1 through 6.
There were 12 total. You have to be a Patreon. You had to be a Patreon subscriber for
13.
Stella's Patreon. Oh, did she just say 13?
No, I have all 13 in PDF.
Oh, so she did 13 of them. So there's 1 through 12 is appearing in this book. So,
and so you're basically saying that, like, since a pamphlet is an 8.5 by 11, you just stuck this piece of paper in and went boom, boom, and then you just get to see the whole pamphlet.
But she actually had to rearrange them all to put them all in an order
because it's not it's not. That's so smart.
Yeah,
I love that. I'm so excited.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that's a hit. I think it's going to be a really good one. It's going to be nice because it's going to be kind of a larger format page, so to speak. So it's less of a this spread and more of a this spread, on an 8.5 by 11, and you're able to follow a little bit more information like all at once, especially for the ones that are actual adventures or encounters or situations and stuff like that. So stoked for those. All right, real quick before we go, I want to show you some random stuff that I picked up at a convention.
Oh yeah, that's right, because you had 2 cons, not 1 but 2, right? We haven't seen you since what, Gen Con?
You haven't seen me since Gen Con. Okay, I'm just going to go through them pretty quickly. Dungeon Cats by 𝗣𝗲 𝗖𝗵𝘁𝘀. I haven't read it yet. This for full disclosure, all of this stuff is sitting in piles and I haven't read it yet. Dungeon Cats. I got this big pile in the paper or in the mail from Aaron King. Their speed rune. Did you grab those all?
Oh,
and I have started to read these. The one that I love the most is Spice World, which is a great name, but it's a riff on Dune with some traveler mechanics and whatnot. I'm guessing because it's got again, haven't had a chance to catch up and read those.
Yeah, Spice World is dope. Spice World is really, really, really fucking good. But
Goodman Games Twitch personality Joey Royale gave us a copy of the 𝗣𝗲𝗴𝘂𝗶𝘂 Fairhaven. It's the weird heroes of public television, riff on DCC. Brad Kerr actually gave me a preview copy of Sweet Dreams that they did with Skull Fungus.
Is that a different color?
I think this was handed to me by Brad at. Oh yeah, I gotta. Now you gotta come to my house. This is
fight Brad for a copy.
This was the Gen Con exclusive.
Nice.
Walls, Doors, and Floors by the inimitable Sam Sorensen. Again, haven't had a chance to actually read these things, so I don't know what it is, but there looks like maps on it. Nutcrawl. I did actually. I don't back a lot of RPGs a lot because I work in them and I have a lot of them to read, and people give me things that I don't have time to read. But 𝗲𝗲𝗧 gave me Nutcrawl, and it looks pretty solid. I actually backed one of their modules that goes along with this because I figure I've got the preview version. This is the thing that I bought. It's called Underworld, and it's for Tunnels and Trolls. Look at that cover.
The cover slaps.
That's it. It cost me $20, $22, but that cover slaps. Okay, so that was the Gen Cons. Do you have this one from Chain Assembly?
That's the Penitent, right? I did.
I
have it.
Is it like you two ultra collectors going back and forth what you have, and like
No,
for the audience, a normal person,
I'm not
Pilgrim
even
of the
an ultra
Penitent?
collector. I'm I work in this business so I can get these things given to me and traded to me. This was actually traded to me for product, but it's got like a deck of oversized. This is from Chain Assembly, Nick Ribera, and the coolest thing about this one is it's got these aluminum bookmarks. So you can actually cut yourself with, like, if you're like, oops, ow. And
Or
it's got
other
all kinds
people,
of, all kinds of nifty stuff in this box. I got our neighbors to the left of us, 𝗲𝗲 Studios did this really great game module called Curse of the Chupacabra, and they too are in the same line. It's statted for OSE, but if you go inside it, it's dual statted for D&D and OSE. So you can, again, do that same thing. And these are local Florida guys, and they're doing all of these by hand. They're actually hand printing and snide zoning and doing all these canvas covers and stuff like that. So I'm interested in seeing more of stuff that they come out with. And then we're going to be working with in an advisory capacity with the guys at 𝗡𝗢𝗧, local to us, with their game Into the Lair. It's their take on DCC, D&D, 5e, like RPGs and such like that. So we're going to be working with them on a fulfillment basis and stuff like that, like helping them set up backer kit, navigate Kickstarters and all of that kind of stuff in the future. So that's cool. And then dumb stuff that I bought. I bought a bunch of copies of Dragon Magazine.
Nice.
And I got issue 100, which has a full-length D&D, AD&D module. And then it also has, this is the one that has Gygax's wizard chess in it. This might be the dumbest, dragon chess. This might be the dumbest game I've ever tried to read. Like, so nice. It's not easy. Anyway, yeah. So those were my adventures at and High Colonies, because they're smoking pot. It's from 1984, 88. And it's a space game. It looks to be kind of a combo of or a riff on the Palladium system a little bit. Riffs, all that kind of stuff. So
I don't think I've ever ingested any of the Palladium stuff. I know I've never read riffs.
One of these days when I get around to running some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you should totally play with me.
Fuck yeah.
I think
I'll play the all day, Jert.
𝗡𝗢𝗧 is one of the best at rock, paper, scissors combat, as far as like you have a certain number of dodges that you can do, especially in a martial arts situation. And say you try to attack with your staff and I block, then you can dodge my block or what, it's a really, really, really great combat simulator for hand-to-hand combat. I will definitely say that. And it's got turtles and other weird stuff in it. So
yeah, that sounds perfect for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Sounds like a blast.
Yeah. Where everyone is in like a street gang, but no one uses guns.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm extremely excited. First of all, it was great to have you back because we did miss you. We did miss you.
Yes.
But also it's Friday the 13th today.
Shit! I totally forgot that.
Oh.
I was gonna say we're putting out a Friday the 13th thing, but not on Friday the 13th.
Well, yeah, Halloween. Luckily, I've worked on enough Friday the 13th riffs over the years that there's probably at least one or two. I want to say there's at least one or two up there that I could pull and run everybody through, or we could just hang out and watch Friday the 13th, which is probably playing at my local theater because they do that sometimes.
There you go. So, well, here's the thing. At least on Friday the 13th, we got to talk about a game about Friday the 13th. Since we're not doing like a spooky episode. We always miss like stuff like that because it'll be like Friday the 13th and we're doing some random game and it's like, hey, we could have done a spooky game today. Or like, episode 69, we did like an interview instead of like, like sex nuns from Planet Pistol or whatever.
Right.
But But I'm glad that we got a Friday the 13th mention here on Friday the 13th. Someone once asked me, and I don't remember who, it's just stuck in my head forever. It was like, dude, wouldn't it be great if Friday the 13th was on Halloween? And I was like, it's doesn't.
I mean, that would totally be great.
Yeah, except it can never work because one is always the 31st and one is always the 13th. But I guess, hey, they're flipped. So Friday the 13th in October. But yeah, what else is that? Did we do it? Did we do it in like an hour?
I think we did.
I think we did. All right.
We won.
So once again, Jert, thank you for being here. Everyone that listened, please go check out Space Penguin, spacepenguin.inc. Am I dumb?
No.
Spacepenguin.inc. I was like, while my brain was going spacepenguininc.inc. Wait a minute, no. We'll make sure all the links are obviously below. Grab all of the stuff, everything that we get. Cobra Express is fantastic. I love Nielsen House from San Sorensen, and obviously grab all the Forbidden Psalm stuff. Very excited for what's happening for the rest of the year, and very stoked for 2025 and as SPI continues to roll forward. I'm very sad that the games are going to come to California and then pass me and then come back to me. I wish I could just like jump in there at some point, but you know, I mean, it is what it is.
Living in California, so
yeah. How dare I live in a place where everything costs $1 million? But yeah, I think that's us. And you're going to be back next month, and we're going to be talking about this stuff all over again.
Yes, and next month we'll. Like, I was going to give a Karen update. I mean, we're going to put out an update on Monday, but I did meant to mention that our files have been submitted for the printer, and we're waiting for pre-press, and the advance has been paid on the printing. So we're getting close to being able to say to our backers for that, hey, it's printing. So, which is pretty good from crowdfunding beginning in March to going to print in September. Like, we're trying to stay on track and hopefully get all those kinks worked out and make sure everything's going to look as pretty as it possibly can. And then we'll post up some videos and some files and, you know, of what everything looks like. And then those will hopefully be printed within another month. And then we'll be on a boat and in people's hands early next year. So
nice. On a boat. And this is, I just looked it up. This is not Cat Chats number 7. We officially, without a break, I don't think we did half a year before missing one. So I'm proud of all of us. And here's to another half a year before we miss your face again, or never would be best. But yeah, I think that's it. I think we did it. I'm very excited. Cool. Go check out all the links. Click down and wherever you're watching, click them. And we will see you all next time. Jert, once again, thank you so much for being here. Bye. Everybody. Bye. Let me hit the end button.